welcome to Daily Planet. I'm Zaya Tong.
I'm Jangram. In addition to Zaya Tong being back here, we have all other kinds of other fun stuff on the show today, from the science of making a huge oil barrel implode to the curious link between sleep and didgeridoos.
But first, a closer look at that mystery mammal we showed you yesterday at the new exhibit at the New York Museum of Natural History.
So where does one of the biggest museums in the world go when they need a sculpture made of the biggest land mammal ever to walk the earth? They go to Mississauga, Ontario, that's where. And we here at Daily Planet went behind the scenes to see it through every step of the way. When it comes to big creatures, the American Museum of Natural History has it all. But it's about to get a brand new tenant. This is Hall Train.
A little bit here.
And this is his studio.
Welcome to Paleo Plus, and this is where we make small things huge.
Today, they're creating a monster.
We're making a life-size recreation of this animal here.
This animal is an Indricotherium, and 30 million years ago, it was king. 4 times the size of an elephant. Indricotherium was the largest mammal ever to walk the earth, and Hall is bringing one back to life.
It's a little nerve-wracking. We have less than 8 weeks to do this whole thing.
Thanks to some cool new technology, he and his team are making the impossible, well, you get the idea.
And its back will go almost to the rafters. So it's extremely large.
These days at Paleo Plus, even the biggest beasts start life as tiny maquettes. At this stage, everything has to be perfect.
This scalpel that I'm using on the life-size one, would the equivalent, the tip of that scalpel would appear to be about this big. It'd be like a 2x4 being dragged through the clay. Now these little tiny wrinkles are going to turn into huge things.
Once all those hand-carved details are laid down, the beast is ready for its close-up. The Arius 3D scanner is one of the most accurate high-resolution scanners in the world.
Well, the resolution we're scanning at is 100 microns between sampled points along the scan line, and that is 100 microns is a tenth of a millimeter. So we end up with 100 points in every square millimeter on the surface.
The scanner creates an exact 3D digital model of the animal. That model then gets blown up 24 times its original size, broken into sections, and those sections get sent back to the real world. Now it's the milling machine's turn.
Basically what it's doing right now is we're doing the detail pass of the head. This is the right side of the head that it's creating.
With the scan data, huge blocks of foam are whittled down, and Hall's tiny scalpel grooves begin to take shape in full dino size.
Before, when I did these sculptures, you get a little tired about 3/4 of the way through. And it's very, very difficult to sculpt something that large when you're this far from it.
Compared to clay, styrofoam is dirt cheap, but the real saving here is time.
What this allows us to do is cut our manufacturing time down to about 1/3.
In a matter of days, all the pieces are cut, and now the real work begins.
We're still a long way from just showing a computer a picture of a prehistoric animal and having it make it. We're working on it though. After the piece comes out of the machine, we piece some of the larger pieces together in some of the more complex forms. Like this? Yeah, there. That seems to work really well.
Then it's onto the skin.
We cover everything with this thick goo, which is an epoxy that's got a thick compound in it. And after that has been laid down, then we start layering layers of glass, fiberglass glass that's been impregnated with the epoxy over the surface. So we have at least 2 layers of glass with epoxy on the surface.
Once the glass hardens, all that foam gets stripped away. Eventually, all that's left behind is a hollow shell.
Okay, so after we take the foam off the cast, we're left with this. It's a very lightweight piece of epoxy resin with reinforced fibers in it.
Only 3 weeks to go.
This is a front leg, the wrist, elbow.
But things are looking up.
Somewhere up there, the head would be.
Way up.
This animal's in pretty much the final stages of assembly. I got about 6 days before it has to be on a truck.
Today, the team's nudging the last of the body parts into place.
I find it's exhilarating at this stage because you make this little model and then it sort of disappears into cyberspace, and then all the parts come together at the end. It's like sitting in a really big minivan. We are where I thought we'd be at this point, but it's a miracle.
All that's left now is some detailing, and of course the paint job, which will rival that of a small house. Then it's on to the Big Apple.
Yeah, they start to look really radical. It's cool. Today we're just sort of doing the finishing touches on the animal, sort of polishing the toenails, trimming the eyelashes, and just kind of enjoying the last little bits of this cool project.
After 8 crazy weeks, the Indricotherium is finally complete. As promised, it is huge. The client couldn't be happier.
This Indricotherium not only has come back to life after about 34 or more million years, but it has personality and presence. One walks through the door and is suddenly dwarfed by the largest extinct land mammal. And it's a humbling experience.
As for Hall,
I'm depressed. You kind of fall in love with your creations. And then after a while, you learn to live without them and go on to something else.